Okay, we are going to be working on some action script here. This will be part of our Flash tutorial. We're going to be using a button to control a movie clip on our main timeline. Alright, so here's how we start. Open up our file. It's going to be an action script 3, so click on that guy. First thing we're going to do is let's take a look at how I've got my setup here. So my stage is up here. I've got my timeline down here, which I can minimize if I need to, but I'm going to put it here. And I've put my actions frame. What we have been doing in the last few classes is docking it, which you can do. You can keep doing that if you like, and opening it up if you'd like. But for this tutorial, I'm going to put instead of floating it, I'm going to drag it down here, snap it into my timeline dock so that I can navigate between these two. Okay, right now this is a default setup, so I've got one current layer, which I'm going to call graphics. I'm going to create another layer, which is going to be called button, and a last layer, which is going to be called actions. Nothing ever goes on my actions layer. It's just to help me keep organized, so that everything can be easily found later. All right, graphics. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a rectangle, and we're going to purposely put it right up in this corner here. It's an orange rectangle. Fine. I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to turn it into a symbol. The symbol is going to be a movie clip, and I'm going to call it box. Now notice that the registration point is currently up in the top left corner. I want it to be centered. The reason is I'm going to be rotating this box. It's going to rotate, and I want it to rotate around the center. And if I do that, when it rotates, it'll rotate properly around the center point. In fact, I'm going to purposely do it wrong just to show you how to fix it if you get it wrong. Okay, so I'm going to set it back so that this is incorrect. I should be doing this, but I'm going to do it like that. And I'll show you what happens. So I'm going to need this thing here to repeat 4 times. But before I do that, I want to give it an instance name because I need to target it later. So I'm going to call it orange box, all one word, no spaces, and a capital B so that I can differentiate the first and second word. So orange box is the instance name. Okay, enter there. I'm going to add a keyframe here. Insert keyframe. Insert keyframe, and if you're looking for the keyboard shortcut, that's function F6. We'll add, or just F6 actually, we'll add a keyframe. Now notice when I click on this, because I did it in the order that I did, okay, I created this box, I gave it an instance name, and then I created these keyframes. You'll notice that it keeps the instance name through each of these. Okay, I click here, I click on it, it's got the same instance name because of the order that I did that in. Click here, again, instance name. All right, on my button graphic here, I'm going to create a circle. I'm going to change the color just so that it's easier to talk about. Okay, my green circle is going to be a button. It's going to be on the button layer. I need to right click it, turn it into a symbol, choose button from the drop down. I'm going to call it green button. I'm also going to give it an instance name, which will be green button as well. You can call it anything you want. You can call it Betty if you would like to. It doesn't matter as long as you are consistent and call it the same thing and spell it the same. It doesn't matter what the name is. Usually we try and use things that make sense in case someone else uses our file and needs to work with it. Okay, I want this button to exist all the way through, and you can see right now it's only on my first frame, so I've got to go here and add a frame just so that it follows all the way through. Insert just a frame, okay, and you can see that that is now just going to continue all the way through. Okay, great. Finally, we'll be adding actions here, but for now, let's just see what happens. So far, when I test this movie, nothing happens. It runs through my 4 frames, and they're identical. So far, and that's a button. So far, nothing's happening. Not much is happening. I'm going to double click this. As you know, when we have a button, I can add some functionality to my button. So I'm going to add like a brighter green here, so that when I test my movie and when I mouse over that button, it's going to give me that indication that it is in fact a button. That's an easy thing to do. And down, just because I'm doing it, I'll add these guys in here. When I click down on the keyboard, it's going to turn orange because that's my overstate. And when I click, okay, this is me clicking, it changes. All right, let's go back out to our main timeline. Remember to go back to your main timeline before you make any more edits. Okay, now we're going to add some code, and we're going to do it on our first layer, our first frame here. And we're going to copy it to each of these. So let's open up our actions frame here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to tell Flash, the playhead, to stop, because we want to stop the animation at this point. And we're going to set, remember that we called this guy, we gave it an instance name. That instance name is orange box. I'm going to copy this, Command C, go back to my actions on actions frame 1, and paste it. And I can say orange box, which tells Flash I'm talking about this, and I want to target the X property, so dot X is equal to, let's call it 200 semicolon. I'm going to then copy this and paste it and change the Y value. And finally, I'm going to also change the rotation value. To start, we're going to have it at 0. Okay? Now, when I run this, because it stops at this point, it's just going to stop the main playhead and reset the X and Y value of this, okay, to be 200, which is going to be around here somewhere. So let's test that. Okay, great. Okay, so it took this, it reset it to here. The rotation is 0, so it hasn't changed. If I took that and instead changed the rotation to, let's say, 50, you'll see that it rotates at 50 degrees. Okay, and our button is still a button, but it doesn't do anything because we haven't told it to do anything yet. Set that back to 0. Okay, now I want this to happen as well right here. So I'm going to insert a keyframe and go to my actions, and I'm going to paste what I just did. And you can see it adds right here a second frame. Okay, so we've got actions frame 2, which is this actions layer, frame 2. Okay, and it adds this code to this frame. Now I want to, for example, say I want to change my rotation. You'll notice here we put it back to 0, okay, in frame 1, but in frame 2, say I want to move it to, I'm going to make it 22. Okay, and what that's going to do is it's going to rotate at 22 degrees. Now, you're not going to see that because we stop this animation right here. So watch. When I run this, it's only showing me the first frame, because in the first frame, I told it to stop, and I told it to set the X, Y position to 200, and the rotation to 0. So that's what you're seeing right here. Okay? If I hadn't put this stop in here, which I could do, I could take this out of here, and now when I run it, it'll do this, and then immediately after, it'll do this and stop. Okay? So it set it to 0, then it rotated it 22 degrees, and it stopped. Okay? There's our code that says set it to 200, set it to 200, set rotation to 0, and it immediately goes to 22, and it happens pretty quickly. So more quickly than you can probably notice it. All right, so let's put that stop back in here. Okay, and so now we're stopping on that first frame at 0 rotation. Great, we're going to copy this. I'm going to go over to here, insert another keyframe. I'm going to add some code to that. You'll see it adds another frame of action. Okay, and I'm going to set my rotation to 45. And I'm going to do it one more time here. And this time it's at 67. What's going to happen is it's going to go, if I didn't have this stop here, it would rotate through from 0 to 22 degrees, to 45 degrees to 67 degrees. And in fact, let's do that. So if I test it now, it stops on 0 still on the first frame because I told it to. But let's do this. I'm going to add these two slashes. You can see it turns that line gray. That's a comment, which means it ignores that line. We usually use comments to tell another programmer, or like to give instructions to somebody, or even just to remind ourselves. But we can also use it to take out a piece of code for a second, sort of temporarily. And you can see that now there are no stops because I've commented them out. They've turned gray, so they're going to be ignored. And now what it'll do is it'll go from frame 1 to frame 2 to frame 3 to frame 4, and it'll reset. So let's see that. Alright, so now this is rotating. But you remember that I told you that I set the registration point incorrectly here. And I did it on purpose, because what should be happening is it should be rotating around the middle, but it's not. It's rotating around that top left corner. So let's address that right now. You'll notice up here there's a little X, right? A little crosshairs. That's the rotation, the registration point. So when I set that, I set it incorrectly, and it is now incorrectly rotating. When I test this, it is rotating around this top left corner, which looks weird, obviously. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to double click this. So let's take this and just stick it up at 0, 0, just so we can see exactly where this thing is. Okay, we just set it here to X and Y 0, 0, which is not going to affect anything in our movie because we set this to 200 by default, so it's gonna go where we tell it to anyways. But for the purpose of this illustration, I'm going to set this to 0, 0. I'm going to double click it, and now what you can see is I'm editing this box. What I'm going to do is, because I know that this is 0, and so it's X and 0, X 0 and Y 0, and I know my box is 76 pixels. I'm going to go half of that. So I'm going to actually move this so that it is kind of further to the left. I'm also going to go, that's a little too far. I'm also going to go up. Now I can actually just grab the center here and snap it to this point. And now that's going to go right in the center. Okay, what I've now done is repositioned the box relative to this point. So watch what happens. You notice that that X, or that crosshair that used to be up here, is now in the center. It's because I double clicked it and I moved what was in here. If I move it to here, watch. Now when I go back out, when I run this, it's going to rotate around this top right corner because I just moved that registration point. Okay, so let's go back in here. Oops, make sure you double click so you get both. I'm going to pick it up from that center point and snap it into the middle here. Okay, and that should work. It's not exact. 38. Okay, that looks good. And now what happens? Go back out here. Now what happens? I can still put this wherever I want it. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter where it is because, and you'll notice it's probably not in the same place in each of these. It isn't because I just moved it. But it doesn't matter because we, by default, in each of these explicitly set an X and Y position. So the position of this doesn't really make any difference. Let's test our movie, and what you'll see now is it's rotating around that center point because we moved the relative position of this box. So now what's happening is going through frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, frame 4 because we got rid of the stop. So it's going to run through each of these frames. Okay, and it just keeps on rotating around. Our button's still doing nothing. That's just here, okay, doing nothing. This is now running through these 4 frames and repeating over and over and over this rotation. Now you'll notice that it's actually not rotating. It's only rotating to a total of 67 degrees, which is this. Let's go to. It's only rotating that far. Like it only kind of rotates not even 90 degrees. And the reason that is because I'm going to show you by adding a little line here. Okay, see that little line here? Watch what's happening. See, it's only going from 0 to 22 to 45 to 67 and then back to 0 again. But because it's a square, it looks like it's going around. If I put this line here, you can see it's only just kind of vibrating between these 4 positions. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. Right, so Again, it's still doing the same thing, but it looks like it's rotating because it's a square. All right, moving along. We're going to go back to this. We're going to get rid of these. Comment tags, and now when I test it, you'll see it stops. Okay, because we've told it to stop, and right now it stops on the first frame. Okay, stops over there on 0, which is this guy here. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to tell this button to do something, because what we want to happen is I want to make it so that this thing, when I go here, I want to be able to click on this button and say go to the next frame, because the next frame is 22 degrees, and then go to the next frame because the next frame is 45 degrees, and then go to the next frame because the next frame is 67 degrees. So let's do that. I'm going to go down to my first frame here, and I'm going to go to the end of my code, and I'm going to click on this button. Now I need to add some code, and I need to specify this button. So I'm going to go to my code snippets. Now this is stuff you don't need to remember the exact syntax for, because Flash does it for you. We just have to remember where things are. So code snippets, I'm going to go here. This by default will open up with all of these closed. We're going to open up this timeline navigation, because that's what we want to do. We want to navigate the timeline. And I'm going to add there's a bunch of different codes here, but let's just go with this one. Click to go to next frame and stop. That's what we want it to do, right? So let's double click that. And you'll see it adds in a bit of an instruction here. It says click to go to next frame and stop. That's what you just did. Clicking on the specified symbol instance moves the playhead to the next frame and stops the movie. That's what we want to do, right? We want it to go to the next frame, which is this one, which has that rotation of 22. It also adds in a bunch of other code. Now we've talked about this in class, but just to reiterate, to remind you, green button is the name of this button. It's the instance name of this button. Right up here you can see. Okay, so that says, hey Flash, I'm talking about this green button here, and I want you to pay attention. I want you to pay attention for something. Okay, so listen for an event. The type of event you're paying attention for is a mouse event, and the specific mouse event that you're looking for is a click. When you hear that, when you notice anything that sounds like somebody clicking on this green button, I want you to run this piece of code, this function. Okay, so it tells it, when you notice a green button getting clicked, run this function. And then it says, the function that I named, this here, and we can name this anything. If I wanted, I could call this rotate this. Okay, and then I would have to change the name of the function here, rotation this. It has to be spelled exactly the same, but this rotation this, okay, I'm going to copy it, just make sure I got it right, paste it, I did, and then it's going to say, okay, well this is the function which is called rotation this, and you don't have to change it, I'm just showing you, is going to do that. It's going to do a certain thing, and the thing it says is go to the next frame. So let's test that. Okay, well here's my button, and right now it's stopping on the first frame, which is good, and I click it and it goes to the next frame. Great. Click it again, it goes to the next frame, because I clicked on the green button and the Flash is listening for that green button to get clicked, and when it does, it says run this function. The function says do this, go to the next frame. Okay, well I'll do it again. Great. Okay, so that seems to be working. Run the test. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. It seems to be, oh, what happened? It's not working past that fourth frame, right? It works up to that 67 point. It goes, that's good, that's good, that's, oops, this is good, and this is good. So we're getting those 67 degree rotation by the end. Super. Except 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not working past that. That's because, if you remember, the code that we said is next frame. Well, the problem is this is the last frame. It goes from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, but there is no next frame. So we're going to make a quick modification here. We'll go back to actions, and we're going to change this from next frame to play. And what play will do is it'll say play the playhead. So go from here and just start playing. And because we added a piece of code at the top of the next frame that says stop, it'll play it and then immediately stop. So now I hit this button, it's going to say play, which it does, and the first instruction it gets is to stop again, reset those positions, and then I hit play again, and it says, okay, play. But then immediately is told again in this next frame to stop. And it'll keep on doing that. And because at the end of our 4 frames, Flash will always repeat this, we can now rotate this through. Hooray. Give it a shot, rewatch the video, and if you have any problems, ask Mr. St. Romain.